Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Shri Ramachandra, and Vande Mataram. I'd like to welcome you all to today's discussion regarding the future of our country and a few updates to the predictions and the observations I'd made last time. These are just a few updates to that. I have not made a very comprehensive video this time. A lot of people have been requesting me for an update or a video regarding the present scenarios in our country. So this is just an update regarding that and what I believe is most likely going to happen based on an analysis of a few more important horoscopes that I've gathered and a few more data points that I've gathered over the last couple of weeks. So the reason why this is not a very comprehensive video is because I need some more time and there are a lot more insights to uncover before we can make a very strong prediction about our country's future and before we can make a very strong prediction about the future for the next few decades and centuries perhaps. So I've been collecting a lot of data for this and it requires time, and hence my next video about the future of our country is going to be a few weeks away. It requires more analysis, and I have personally come across a lot of different situations, a lot of data throughout the last few weeks, and while reading the history of our country and the many moments that we've been through as a civilization, the painful moments, the joyous moments, they bring tears to the eyes at times, and some of the situations were far too difficult to read as well. When I was going through a lot of the positions, the planetary positions, I could not but notice the plight of our country in the last 400 years or so. The major and the very horrible conquests and the horrible invasions by barbarians, the Mughals and the other jihadis who basically conquered our country and tortured our civilians and tried to destroy our culture, but were not successful at that by God's grace and by the sacrifices of our people. Just wanted to mention this, but it was very difficult holding back tears when reading about our country's very bruised history over the last 400 years and looking at the place where we are at the moment, the great changes that have happened, especially over the last decade. I feel so delighted at times to see what a transformation we've been through, especially in the last one decade. We've seen some amazing transformation, both in terms of multidimensional, I would say, not only in terms of the economy, not only in terms of the financial situation, which has considerably improved, and we have seen hundreds of millions of people coming out of poverty and so many more great changes. Alongside, we've also seen cultural transformation. We have seen a civilizational awakening, which is essential to the long-term progress of a nation. So going through all these data points as well and the experiences of the past, I would make a video probably in another few weeks after detailed research and analysis for several empires that I'm currently conducting, and I would get back with an update regarding that. But this video is just a short update, and first of all, we're going to be analyzing why April, June and July are very important time frames this year in 2024. So why are these 3 months very important, and what is going to happen in these 3 months, and what is happening as a prelude to this? So first of all, the farmers' protests, which have just started off again in February of 2024. To be very precise, I prepared a horoscope for this as well. So the 13th of February 2024, around early morning in the sense around 8 to 9 a.m. in the morning, the protests began. So I prepared an approximate chart for this because we do not have very specific time frames. So Moon and Rahu were rising in the ascendant. And moreover, Mars is gradually moving towards the Pushya Nakshatra very soon. That is, to be very precise, it is going to be moving towards the Pushya Nakshatra. This is just a representational image. It has nothing to do with astronomy. But Mars is basically moving towards Pushya Nakshatra in around June of this year, and additionally around mid-June of this year we are also going to see the Mars position. Basically we're going to see the Dasha, the Vimshotari Dasha of Mars as well as Rahu. That is the Mars Mahadasha and the Rahu Antardasha are going to begin very soon in mid-June 2024. So June, July, August, we're going to see a few, or at least one major disappointment in that time frame. Of course, in the course of nation building, in the course of civilizational awakening, or whatever we are going through at the present moment, in the course of strengthening of our country, there will be some upsets, there will be some disappointments. Nothing is a fairy tale story of everything going positive. If you look at history, every single country, every single civilization has had its own ups and downs. Even during moments of great prosperity, there are some disappointments which we will have to go through, and of course there will be some opposing forces, and of course we will have a lot of people who are not happy with the progress. We have a lot of people already, but thank God they're in the minority, and we have those liberals, so-called pseudo-liberals, we have the so-called secularists who have no idea what they're talking about, and we also have anti-national elements, we have foreign funded elements, and we also have some Deshdrohis, and we also have a lot of people, basically different types of people. We have totally misaligned people, and basically we are going to be facing a lot of trouble in the next couple of months because of certain elements such as this and the farmers' protests basically do not exactly fit into any of these categories as far as astrological positions go. It's just part of the transition of our country, and it's just part of these farmers who are trying to find their place in the future of our country on one angle, and on the other angle a lot of unwanted elements will take advantage and are already taking advantage of this situation to push their separatist and dangerous propositions into their protests. So we're seeing both the things coming together, so we have to be really careful in this time frame. It is very helpful if it is resolved as soon as possible. As a Bharatiya, I would very much pray that this situation gets resolved as soon as possible and everyone is happy, including the whole country, all the citizens as well as the farmers are happy, and we have to make sure that all separatist elements stay out of this internal matter of our country. That is of utmost importance at the present moment. So the first thing is that based on a very preliminary analysis, a settlement with the farmers is likely to be reached by November of this year approximately, and if it is done before that, it is very helpful, because if it is done before that, we would be in a much better situation for the whole country, including for the farmers of this country, as when Mars begins to move closer and closer to the Pushya Nakshatra, country can get into some trouble little by little. So it's better for us to complete everything before Mars enters that position. And coincidentally, the whole protest began when Mars had a direct 180-degree aspect on the birth degree of our country. The birth degree is the exact degree when the moon, the exact degree where the moon was moving through at the time of our independence. So that is the 6th degree of Kataka Rashi or Cancer, and Mars basically on the day when the protest began was exactly 6 degrees of Makara Rashi or Capricorn, thus forming an exact 180-degree aspect on the 6th degree. That could be one of the major reasons that caused this whole uprising. And the other aspect is that it's, as already mentioned, it's better if everything is settled before June. And as I mentioned earlier, there's a major risk of anti-national foreign funded elements and other leftist elements basically creating trouble for our country in the coming few months. Of course, it's all part of the growth story. We are going to see a couple of detractors, a couple of difficult elements as well. So there could be some other major disappointment too. For example, in 2019, when Mars was transiting through this particular area, the Chandrayaan 2 was launched, and it failed as it was launched exactly at a time which was not so good for our country. And there are many other reasons. This is just one of the reasons. We could see some sort of a disappointment in that time frame, but this is in no way a totally negative prediction. We are going to see some great moments in the history of our country in the coming few years. some very major turning points, some major disappointments as well. I'll cover more of these when I get more information, because it is a very, very broad subject and making a prediction is not easy. And I'll also make a separate video for all of you who are curious to know how I make predictions and what goes around in the background before I make these videos, because each of these videos, and especially some of the videos I've made in the past, including for example the predictions which were made for the Middle East, which came accurate, and similarly for some old predictions about, say, the 2020 situation and many more. Basically, it's not a crystal ball which I have, which I can look through and tell you about the future. It's not as simple as that. Of course, there's an intuitive component, but it's a lot of analysis. It's an analysis of history. It's an analysis of present situations. It's an analysis of static and dynamic elements. So it's a lot of background work, and hence coming to a conclusion isn't as easy as it might seem. So jihadi violence in Bharat is likely to peak around mid 2024. We have to particularly keep an eye on June, July, and August as well. The April time frame, as I mentioned in my previous video, also is very important. But June, July, August is when the Mars Mahadasha and Rahu Antardasha is going to creep in gradually. And that is not a very good time frame, as Rahu, generally whenever we see Rahu operating, as I mentioned in my previous videos, this was also the logic for my prediction about violence in the Middle East exactly in October, which was made 3 or 4 days before the attack. So the logic behind that was whenever Rahu comes into focus, especially in certain combinations, then certain jihadi elements in the country, outside the country, or in that region, they get activated out of nowhere, and they've been getting activated since the very beginning of the religion in the 7th century AD. They've been getting activated periodically and causing a lot of distress and harm in different parts of the world. The jihadi, the radical element of Islam, and their factions. So whenever Rahu gets activated, they also spontaneously get activated, and that's why we Bharatiyas need to be really careful. And this also includes the Bharatiyas who are followers of Islam. We all need to be careful in particular, because jihadi elements can be very dangerous for our country and very dangerous for the future of our, for every aspect of our future, multidimensionally. And not only for our country, but every other country around us in the whole world, based on whatever we've seen in the past. So we need to be really careful, especially in the mid part of this year. And as I mentioned earlier, I had mentioned that there could be some major terrorist events. Yes, the risk for that still remains. We also saw the Haldwani violence in Uttarakhand as well, which was quite horrible. And similarly, we're going to see a few more very unsavory moments related to jihadis in the couple of months that are going to continue after this. So of course, I'll also make a separate video regarding the religions and how situations for them would unfold over the next couple of decades. I already have done some research for Sanatana Dharma, certain factions of Hinduism, and also for Islam, for Christianity. I've done an analysis for these as well, but it needs some more time, and I'll come up with a more comprehensive update in the near future. So to summarize, we have to be careful about jihadi violence in the mid part of this year, particularly after mid-June 2024. That is, to be very precise, around 11th or 20th of June, around after that time frame, need to be a little bit careful, as some orchestrated elements might come about. It might even be a very different form of violence, in which it could also be a form of information violence, using misinformation to cause hatred in the minds of people and create disturbances. A lot of different tactics could be employed in that time frame. So third, how do I time events for a specific country? I've used two methods in any analysis. So today's analysis was primarily focusing on the period between June and July, when we are entering the Rahu phase. basically within Mars. So how do I get these phases in particular? Well, after a lot of analysis, I've found that the Vimshottari Dasha system also does work very well for a specific country. I've analyzed different empires around the world. I've analyzed some empires which have ruled our country as well, including some barbarian empires and some native empires as well, including the Mughal Empire. I've analyzed a few more empires like the Sikh Empire and some of the native empires like the Sikh Empire, the Maratha Empire, and a few more which I'll also cover. And based on a detailed analysis and based on also looking at the lifespans of different empires, it's somewhere either below 120 years, or many of the empires which have succeeded are in a multiple, are close to a multiple of 120. For example, many of the empires, I'll make a separate video on this probably, but it's like 490 years and 250 years based on a research by a scholar who has analyzed all the lifespans of major empires in the world. The average lifespan is 250 years, and hence the Vimshottari Dasha scheme applies very well to this system. And for those of you who are wondering what I'm speaking about here, this is more of a technical aspect of astrology, probably cover it in a different video. But there are two major timing systems for the predictions which I'm using. One is Gochara and the other is Vimshottari. Vimshottari is a very novel way of looking at things, and it's at its experimental stages at the moment, but I have found very good evidence to corroborate with it, including for the present chart which I'm using. I have found very close links between the assassinations of previous prime ministers, major wars that our country has gone through, and several other events, and the link between those events and Vimshottari Dasha is very, very clear and relevant over here. So I will be using this in my further predictions as well. So experiments are currently in progress regarding this. So I would like to name this project Bharata Bhavishya, and we are going to be looking into this in further detail in the next couple of weeks. So our viewers can expect an update by, say, the next 2 or 3 months regarding this. So first of all, these are the list of empires, a few of them which I'm going to be analyzing throughout this. One is, of course, the Republic of India, which was formed on the 26th of January 1950, along with our constitution at 10:18 a.m. In New Delhi, as well as the independence of our country on the 15th of August 1947 at around midnight, a few minutes past midnight. And also the great Maratha Empire, which we all as Bharatiyas are very proud of, the empire of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, who literally gave us a sense of reckoning in those turbulent times. And similarly, some other very ancient empires for which we not have very clear timelines, but the Chola Empire, for example, which also instilled a very strong sense of nationality and which also strengthened Sanatana Dharma of those times and spread our Bharatiya culture in different parts of Southeast Asia. And of course, we are also going to be analyzing the very important moments in the Bharatiya Janata Party, which has also brought about significant positive changes in our country over the last 1 decade. I have taken the positions for the Bharatiya Janata Party as well, including the founding chart wherever available, as well as the swearing in charts for the Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The two swearing in moments, both in 2014 and in 2019, as well as some very important moments for the Sikh Empire, including the Dal Khalsa, the founding of the Dal Khalsa, although unfortunately I'm not able to get very accurate dates for these. The coronation of Maharaja Ranjit Singh, I've used that data as well. And additionally, also some other unfortunate situations, including the erstwhile Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, who unfortunately created some trouble for our country as well, and his the different time frames that were going on when he was the Prime Minister of this country, and alongside the Mughal Empire, including the very unfortunate moments when we had to undergo slavery because of these monsters like Aurangzeb, and similarly the British Empire, which also caused a lot of harm to our country. So we're going to be analyzing important events, including massacres, wars, prosperous moments, moments of civilizational importance throughout this particular analysis. So this is going to take some time, and I've just provided a snippet of what we're going to see, and this is going to unearth a lot of important links. Already I'm seeing some major links. For example, just a small example, the Prime Minister of our country, Indira Gandhi, in 1971, the erstwhile Prime Minister, she was unfortunately assassinated in 1984, if I'm right, around October, and the exact time when she was assassinated was in the Ketu Mahadasha and Rahu Antardasha. If you consider the Raman Ayanamsha or the Pushyapaksha Ayanamsha, you get Ketu Mahadasha and Rahu Antardasha when she was assassinated. Similarly, Rajiv Gandhi as well was again during a very unfortunate time frame. Again, during the Sun Antardasha, Rajiv Gandhi was assassinated. So the Sun also holds a very important moment over here. Now we are entering Mars and Rahu. So we have to be really careful in this time frame. Similarly, there are many more events that happened in the past, including wars. All of them have very satisfactory links to the Vimshottari Dasha scheme, and hence I will continue using this despite some people thinking that it may not be appropriate for nations, although I have found some evidence for this and will make a separate video for those of you who are already well versed in astrology, who can understand the nuances of this and who can understand my reasoning behind using this system. So it's coming not so soon, but I hope it will be coming soon, the whole analysis. And just as an additional information, the BJP government, it was founded, I would consider the swearing-in moment of Pradhan Mantri Narendra Modi ji in 2014 as well as 2019, and I have also taken the exact time frames for them. One was at 6 p.m, one was at 7 p.m. Of course, the swearing-in charts do have some discrepancies here and there, but they are astrologically very sound, and there are very strong positions. For example, the first chart had Saturn right in the ascendant, very well exalted, and the second chart had Jupiter right in presumably Narendra Modi ji's birth sign. So this way there are very strong and very positive positions, including a few negative positions as well. For example, the second swearing in happened when the Lagna was towards the end of the sign, which again shows some difficulties and some turbulence, as well as very positive situations because of Guru in the Lagna. Let's just hope and pray for the best to happen. And overall, a few people have asked this question, whether it was founded on strong positions or not. The answer is yes, very strong positions, but it requires a separate video, and some of which were not so good, some of which were not so bad. And for most of you who know, so far I have not made any major predictions on the election, but I'm very confident that of course I'm quite confident that this particular government, that's the BJP government, is going to have a very strong situation in the next couple of years as well. I do not make election predictions so far. I have not made, because I do not believe they can be made, and a lot of people have tried and failed at this because it's a very complex and multidimensional subject. It also involves looking at horoscopes of different politicians, and we do not have accurate birth data for them, and similarly it involves a lot of things basically, and it's very much multidimensional, and anyone who wants to know more about this needs to study the whole subject of astrology to get a hint on how difficult it is to predict the outcome of an election. And I prefer not to make such predictions at this stage, and rather focus on the future of our country in general, and focus on the future of very important specific events which have been doing over the last couple of years. So Vande Mataram, and thank you all for listening to me today, and let's hope we have great news coming in the next few months. And Vande Mataram again. Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Shri Ramachandra.